everybody. I just started.
Yeah, talk us through what she said exactly.
I just started the live. Like, I'm gonna do live updates. Count for a while. You guys were probably shocked and thought I got banned. I did not get banned, y'all. I just deactivated my account.
Of the White House cannot be tested for too long.
Hope everybody's doing well, though.
We are completely strangling their economy through
Oh,
this
God.
blockade. They're losing $500 million a day. The Carg Island is completely full. They can't move oil in and out. They can't even pay their own people as a result of this economic leverage that President Trump has inflicted over them. So he's satisfied with that as we await their response. And we will see. The president has not set a firm deadline to receive an Iranian proposal, unlike some of the reporting I've seen today. Ultimately, the timeline will be dictated by the commander-in-chief and the president of the United States.
Some of that reporting was suggesting that Donald Trump would give the Iranians 3 to 5 days and then resume the bombing. As you heard from Caroline Levitt, that's simply not the case. But at the moment here in Washington, D.C., there's certainly nothing public-facing that suggests that J.D. Vance and the negotiating team are preparing to fly to Islamabad. Now, we also know that the blockade is still in place. In fact, CENTCOM sent out a message just in the last couple of hours saying that 27 ships have been turned back. And the idea, the reports that a couple of ships actually managed to get through the blockade simply isn't true. Donald Trump believes the blockade is forcing Iran into a negotiating position. The problem he's got at the moment is they don't seem to know when that negotiation is going to start.
All right, thanks very much. Alan Fisher there, our chief correspondent there, speaking to us from the White House. Now, Ali Hashim is live from Iran. Iran isn't budging.
Serious question, living outside of Sudan, how do you support the people? You support the people by, number one, actively raising awareness about what's happening in Sudan, but you have to educate yourself as well prior to doing that, because you don't want to be spreading harmful misinformation about the G side. Number two is maybe financially supporting the aid. So, for example, I have some initiatives in the link tree in my bio that are grassroots organizations that are run by Sudanese people who are verified. You try to support these organizations because they are really on the ground actively helping people by giving them like your basic essentials. And if you cannot donate, then you can also just share it to other people and maybe you might find people to donate. But that's what it is. Basically, educate yourself about it, raise awareness about it, pressure, like try to boycott, pressure your representatives, and then also financial support is how you can help the people in Sudan. And amplify Sudanese voices as well. That's very important.
Aren't on the verge of execution, and that some of
but that just goes along with any crisis that is currently happening.
Charges, if confirmed by the court, will ultimately result in imprisonment. So,
did you see that? Iran's parliament speaker says reopening of Hormuz is impossible with such flagrant breach of ceasefire. Ooh.
We want to do diplomacy, but that's not going to happen without lifting the...
So the thing is, like, one of the conditions, by the way...
and Ali, the ceasefire, as we were saying, has been extended, but Iran has seized two...
Should I say listen to you, share on Smitty? I don't think that's enough.
How are people in Iran feeling about it?
Smitty doesn't go live that often, and when he does go live, I can't really in depth go about what's happening in Sudan, so that's not really enough. I think that's a start, but I would highly implore you to do more than that.
Bombs falling on them, but at the same time, given the fact it's not a comprehensive deal, it's not a permanent end of the war, this is putting a lot of concerns on people's because they are now in a situation where there's no war, there's no peace, more sanctions, more blockade.
Thank you very much, Destiny. I appreciate you. So I'm gonna give you guys updates on the region. I'm gonna be talking about what's happening in West Asia and what's happening especially in East Africa, because there's a lot happening. I know people have not been getting their news updates. So,
do this and then.
and I'm going to be showing you some stuff on it as well, so that you guys can get like your news updates, because unfortunately mainstream media is not really delving deep into necessary information. So that is what I'm going to be doing. Hi.
Peace, or is the war going to continue? The way things currently are, one doesn't know what.
So that's what I'm going to be doing.
Well, what he's said is that they are going to extend the ceasefire for an unspecified amount of time. This ceasefire was due to run out today, in fact, but the president had extended it till yesterday. And he says they're doing that at the request of Pakistan, which has been acting as intermediaries between the US and Iran. And the justification...
Do y'all know that Pakistan annexed like Afghani land? I think it's very sus that they're actively trying to negotiate this peace.
It appears to be that the Iranian regime is fractured, and what President Trump is saying, he's been asked by the Pakistanis to hold off the attacks on the country until, and I quote you here, such time as their leaders and representatives
Afghan land, yeah, thank
come
you.
up with a unified proposal. Now, we know that there's been a number of proposals made and demanded by the US. Many of them have already been rejected out of hand by Iran, not least to hand over all of its enriched uranium, to give up any chance of enriching uranium, to take all that outside the country. That's been flatly rejected. They've rejected the idea of simply opening the Strait of Hormuz. That remains closed.
No, I wasn't
all those
Mid-Atlantic.
tankers trying to get out of the Gulf. So there are huge substantive issues. But what the president seems to have agreed to here at the behest of Pakistan is a breathing space, an unspecified length of breathing space. And of course, the president has had to row back on many timed deadlines in the past. Perhaps he's learning a lesson here that he's going to not set a specific time on this until they get a proposal. That does lower the temperature significantly, because it looked like he was prepared to go back to bombing potentially even tomorrow night.
And as our colleagues have pointed out, however, the blockade on
Hi.
the Iranian ports by the US does continue, which is something that Iran views as an act of war.
No, it does work, Shabia.
Yes, it does. And Iran has said that the ceasefire is invalid because of that.
I'm pretty sure it
blockade
works.
on Iranian ports. So they can't get any of their
Hi, John.
oil out, even though it's sanctioned. There were ways of getting it out. We've also seen a tanker seized by the US, not anywhere near the strait, actually, down in the Indian Ocean near Sri Lanka, as a sort of signal that they're going to enforce this blockade worldwide. And so from Iran's point of view, this may not seem like very much, although they will potentially not face the prospect of bombs and missiles hitting their territory as of tomorrow evening. Let's see what their response is. This will be gauged, I think, to try and push them closer to the negotiating
Hi,
table.
Sharon.
I imagine the Pakistanis have been leaning on Tehran pretty heavily, saying if we get this extended, you've got to come up with something that makes it worthwhile for the Americans, because if they come up with nothing, then this just looks like the US backing down.
Okay. So I personally don't. Hold on. I genuinely don't think. I don't think it's gonna go through, because the conditions have been very tough.
America's Secretary of Defense is today a global laughingstock after quoting a fake Bible verse. It did not take the press here and around the world very long to figure out that Pete Hegseth was not exactly quoting the Bible at a Pentagon prayer service. It wasn't the Gospel of Matthew or Mark or Luke or John. While Hegseth suggested that it was a twist on the actual Bible verse, what it really was, what it actually was a take from the Gospel of Quentin Tarantino.
Blessed is he who, in the name of camaraderie and duty, shepherd the lost through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children.
Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness.
Oh, I know Samuel Jackson is not happy.
For he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children.
I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to capture and destroy my brother.
I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers.
And you will know my call sign is Sandy 1 when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
And you will know my
Oh
name
my
is the
goodness.
Lord when I lay my vengeance.
Oh my god. I can't show this.
Amazing, right? Now, it's so bad that the Pentagon is admitting it today. The spokesperson for the Pentagon is saying it was a, quote, custom prayer, obviously.
I'm sorry. What is a custom prayer? Yo. I'm so sorry.
In Pulp Fiction. And that spokesperson insists that it was still a reflection of a real Bible verse, Ezekiel 25:17. But even that last point isn't exactly right. The LA Times points out that, quote, the infamous Ezekiel 25:17 speech from Pulp Fiction is almost entirely a screenwriter's creation. Only the final refrain is loosely inspired by the actual.
Okay, let's look up Ezekiel 25:17. And I will execute great vengeance upon them with furious rebukes, and they shall know that I am the Lord when I shall lay my vengeance upon them. Okay, so it was only the last part and not the whole thing. Okay.
Biblical verse, end quote. Now, the global reaction to Pete Hegseth.
Oh no! Oh no! Why would they do Uma Thurman like that?
Remarks was swift. California's governor got in on it.
Hold on, this is Newsom's page. This is Newsom's official page.
As well, Gavin Newsom posted.
People don't know this. This is the official Pulp Fiction poster, y'all. Hold on. This is, but it's Uma Thurman who's on that poster. See? This is the official Pulp Fiction poster with Uma Thurman. But they basically said it was Pete Fiction. Interesting.
Marks was swift. California's governor got in on it as well. Gavin Newsom posted this take on the famous Pulp Fiction movie poster with the words, Pete Fiction, I just make up stuff because I'm war secretary. No surprise, late night talk show host had a field day. Here is Stephen Colbert.
Despite all
Oh, I hate Stephen Colbert.
this, I want Hegseth to succeed. He's the Secretary of Defense. If he succeeds, that means America succeeds. So please, join me in prayer.
But Hegseth's embarrassing debacle has already been seen all around the world. People around the world are laughing at him and us. Al Jazeera covered it. Pan-European outlet Euronews covered it. They wrote this, quote, last year we proved that the Trump administration may be culturally illiterate. Now Pete Hegseth has added another stone to that dubious edifice. You could argue that something like this would be a career killer in a normal administration, in a normal presidency. But in that normal parallel reality, in a normal administration, placing sensitive classified information on a group chat with a reporter would have already gotten Hegseth fired a year ago. So what makes this, frankly, deeply humiliating moment for Pete Hegseth all the more significant is that Pete Hegseth is using religion as a cudgel, and he invokes the Bible all the time.
Oh, did you guys hear about that? The religion thing? Hold on. So there were 200 complaints that were released by like U.S. troops. So it says here, U.S. troops were told war on Iran was all part of God's divine plan. Religious Freedom Group says 200 troops sent complaints of superiors using extremist Christian rhetoric to justify war. U.S. military commanders have been invoking extremist Christian rhetoric about biblical end times to justify involvement in the Iran war to troops. The MRFF says it has received more than 200 complaints from service members across all branches of the armed forces. One complainant identified as a non-commissioned officer in a unit that could be deployed at any moment to join operations against Iran, told MRFF in a complaint viewed by The Guardian that their commander had urged us to tell our troops that this was all part of God's divine plan, and he specifically referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelation, referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. He said that, and I quote, President Trump has been anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to Earth, the NCO added. The NCO's complaint was filed on behalf of 15 troops, including 11 Christians, 1 Muslim person, and 1 Jewish person. The complaint was first shared by MRFF with Jonathan Larson, an independent journalist. Anytime Israel or the U.S. is involved in the Middle East, we get this stuff about Christian nationalists who have taken over our government, and certainly our U.S. military. Mikey Weinstein, MRFF's president, who is an Air Force veteran, told The Guardian. Military members are not really able to stand up for themselves because your military superior is not your shift manager at Starbucks. In a statement, Weinstein suggested that the reports indicate an increase in Christian extremism in the military, noting that the complainants report the unrestricted euphoria of their commanders who perceive a biblically sanctioned war that is clearly the undeniable sign of the expeditious approach of the fundamentalist Christian end times. Pete Hegseth, the U.S. Defense Secretary, is known for his embrace of Christian nationalism. He previously endorsed the doctrine of sphere sovereignty, a worldview derived from the extremist beliefs of Christian Reconstructionism. The philosophy calls for capital punishment for homosexuality and strictly patriarchal families and churches. In August 2025, Hegseth reposted a CNN segment on X focusing on Pastor Doug Wilson, a Christian nationalist who co-founded the Idaho-based Communion of Reformed Evangelical Churches. In the segment, Wilson says he does not believe women should hold leadership positions in the military or be able to fill high-profile combat roles. Have y'all ever seen this Doug Wilson guy, by the way? I checked out some of his stuff. And he's actually scary. This is the guy who was encouraging white people to join ICE. I think, if that's him. No, that's not him. Okay, there's another person. There was this other pastor. Damn it, I forgot his name. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? There was a pastor who was encouraging people to join ICE. He was like a racist pastor. Racist pastor. Yes, I found him. What's his name? Hold on.
Well, here we go. Pastor. Popular. All right, pastor, claims black people are more dangerous than white people and that Jesus himself would have, well, been a bigot. Here it is. If there's someone who's black in our church. And they,
hold on, let me go back. Child, Jesus is saying, leave me out of this. How are these people, like, Jesus was literally a brown man from the Levant. These people are sitting here bringing Jesus into their bigotry, bro.
Here it is. If there's someone who's black in our church, and they've been in our church, and we know them, and they love the Lord Jesus Christ, great. We're not talking about that person, right? But we're talking about when you go into a crowd of people. If you go into a crowd of strangers and they're white strangers, there's some danger. If they're black strangers, there is 30 times more danger.
Oh, goodness. Hold on.
About 90 to 95% of the black church in America is objectively, by the standards of scripture, heretical. The black church in America needs to be split up. It needs to go and find a good, God-fearing white church. It's one thing to be...
So sorry. What? Hold on. I want to see the full clip. I'm so sad that they don't have the full clip. Should I go to Twitter for the full clips? Because they're not offering the full clips. Okay, here.
About 90 to 95% of the black church in America is objectively, by the standards of scripture, heretical. About 90 to 95% of the black church scripture, heretical. I love black people, and currently there are not enough black men in America, Christian men, who know enough theology to be able to be qualified to pastor black churches.
Oh my God. Okay, let's continue.
Know enough theology to be able to be qualified to pastor black churches. The black church in America needs to be split up. It needs to go and find a good, God-fearing white church with biblically qualified men so that they can hear the real gospel of Jesus Christ and come to saving faith in him. You said...
Yeah. This is the pastor who also, by the way, was encouraging people. Hold on.
Pastor Joel Webber says black people are 30 times more dangerous than white people. He's the senior pastor of Covenant Bible Church in Austin, Texas. His rhetoric doesn't end there. He also suggested that white Christian parents need to have, quote, the talk with their children about avoiding black people.
Oh!
If you're a Christian white parent who loves the Lord and loves your children, that you need to have the talk. The talk that we're referencing is the talk that takes your children according to their maturity at the proper time, the appropriate time, and says, there are certain parts of town that you cannot go. And there are certain people that you cannot be around.
Certain people, exactly, because we all know Jesus said that in the Bible. This guy is supposed to be a Christian.
Yeah, you can't be a vigilante, but you literally can join ICE and be God.
Here he's encouraging people to join ICE. Hold on.
But you literally can join ICE and be God's appointed avenger, right? Who seeks to carry out God's vengeance on the evildoer.
Yes, because usually when people talk about the talk with your children, it is black parents. I'm not Muslim. That's the crazy thing. See, I grew up Orthodox Christian, you know? Also, East Africa was Christian before Europe was Christian. Respectfully. Anyways, as I was saying.
Right? Who seeks to carry out God's vengeance on the evil.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was going to explain. The talk that like black parents have usually, right, is the talk with their children with regards to how to stay safe in a police encounter. So if the police pull you over, you have to pull your child to the side and tell them things to do, to avoid, what not to do, how to act in the case of a police pulling you over, because usually, unfortunately, a lot of Black people are more likely to be subjected to police brutality or to be unalived. So that is the talk. But it's interesting that he is actively, again, colonizing that word.
Avenger, right? Who seeks to carry out God's vengeance on the evildoer. Immigration is evil.
Oh my goodness. Did you just see? Hold on. I'm so sorry. I have to rewind this from the beginning again, and I promise I'll play it. But I was too busy trying to tell you guys what the talk is. Hold on.
Yeah, you can't be a vigilante, but you literally can join ICE and be God's appointed avenger, right? Who seeks to carry out God's vengeance on the evildoer. Immigration is evil, at least at the level that we have it today. And those who are flooding our country, it's not theirs. They are flooding our country like a swarm of locusts and eating up the inheritance that your fathers, by their blood, sweat, and tears, laid up for you. It is a breach of a rebellion against the fifth commandment to honor your father and mother. If you are a heritage American and you can track your ancestry back even just 3 generations, you have some degree of heritage here in America. Your fathers, they literally sacrificed for you, and what they did for you and for your children, their children's children, is being devoured by those who it does not belong to. And so to join the proper mechanism through ICE and to become, in that sense, God's appointed deacon to carry out vengeance on the evildoer who is devouring the inheritance of the children, that is a righteous thing. You can join ICE today and make Jesus smile as you, with a gun, pack foreigners into the back of a van to be kicked out of the country. That is
lucky,
a godly, glorious endeavor.
You'll get to go to Portland or Chicago and also get to throw libs to the ground too.
I've seen some of those videos.
Purple hair. That is also a God-glorifying endeavor.
Either
you're sending them out, sending them to jail.
These are people who hate you. They hate the country. They're trying to destroy it. These are criminals. They are. It's treason. These are traitors. They're traitors to America, and it's time to clean up our country.
Oh my goodness. Yo, that's actually sick. Hold on. Wait. Listen, I'm laughing not because it's funny. It's actually terrifying. I'm laughing because how do you, these people are so delusional.
The end game in pushing egalitarianism pertaining to...
Who is it? This is, so let me read out who this guy is, okay? His name is Joel Webben. He is a pastor out of Idaho. So this is Joel Webben. He is a rising pastor. Oh, sorry, Texas. My bad. Not Idaho. Texas. And says here, recently a Texas Christian minister has caused considerable consternation and has found himself under fierce and frantic fire after informing white parents they're failing their kids if they don't warn them to stay away from Black people. Let's watch that full clip.
If you're a Christian white parent who loves the Lord and loves your children, that you need to have the talk. The talk that we're referencing is the talk that takes your children according to their maturity at the proper time, the appropriate time, and says, there are certain parts of town that you cannot go. And there are certain people that you cannot be around. Right? If there's someone who is Black in our church, and they've been in our church, and we know them, and they love the Lord Jesus Christ, great. We're not talking about that person, but we're talking about when you go into a crowd of people. If you go into a crowd of strangers, and they're white strangers, there's some danger. If they're Black strangers, there is 30 times more danger. Them's the facts. And it is actually a failure of your parental duty. White parents, please hear me. If you teach your children growing up, if you lie to them and say, all people and all races of people in our country are the same.
Oh.
They are not. You are actually depriving your child of factual, truthful information that could save their life.
Oh Ooh, Joel Webben is his name. Yes, he is unfortunately radicalizing a lot of people, okay? What is this? This is why Black Americans never put guard with. Yeah, that's true. So what is he like? He probably is. So it says here, Joel Webben, a self-described Christian nationalist, and Matt Walsh, another far-right public figure look-alike who heads Covenant Bible Church in suburban Austin, espoused their remarks on his Right Response Ministries podcast. He has a ministries podcast. Oh, Lord. And he heads a church called Covenant Bible Church in suburban Austin. In the sermon, Webben urges white Christian parents to have what he refers to the talk, not about police safety the virgin black families have long had to give their kids, but about staying away from certain neighborhoods and pointedly from black people they do not know. He declares his message a life-saving truth, accusing parents who teach racial equality of lying to their children. Monitors who posted the clip highlight the language and its intent, painting an entire group as a threat. If you're a Christian white parent who loves the Lord and loves your children, you need to have the talk, said Webben. The talk that we're referencing is a talk that takes your children according to their maturity at the proper time, the appropriate time, and says there are certain parts of town that you cannot go to, and there are certain people you cannot be around. So I feel like these are the types of cliques that Pete Hegseth hangs around, in my opinion. There is a rise of Christian nationalism. There are a lot of white tea supremacists who have basically co-opted Christianity and infused it with white tea supremacy and are just prolonging it, basically.
Justify the armed interventions.
No, that's not Walsh. He looks like Matt Walsh, though.
That the Trump administration is engaged in all around the world. New York Times reported last month that, quote, more than any top American military leader in recent history, Hegseth has framed U.S. military operations in the Mideast, Africa, and Latin America as bigger than politics or foreign policy. Often Pete Hegseth, has imbued these actions with a Christian moral underpinning that suggests they are divinely sanctioned. Or, I guess if we're talking about Pete Hegseth, we mean sanctioned by Jules from Pulp Fiction.
See what I mean? Sanctioned. Has Danny Danon said anything recently about Lebanon? He's been awfully quiet, hasn't he? Oh dear, no, he has spoken.
Of Nasrallah. But before we speak about what we'll see in the General Assembly today, I have to address the outrageous remarks made earlier this week by the UN Secretary General Guterres. On the very day Israel and Lebanon were engaged in historic negotiations, he went so far as to claim that Israel and Hezbollah have, and I quote, helped each other to destabilize Lebanon. That is simply false. At a historic moment, when the region is taking steps toward direct dialogue between Israel and Lebanon, when others are choosing progress,
wait, hold on. Ra reminded me of that. Hold on.
Sit and count all day.
Yep.
But sometimes I get carried away. I count slowly getting.
That's literally him. But anyways, let's continue.
The Secretary General chose to do exactly the opposite. He chose to cast doubt. He chose to blur the truth. He chose to draw a comparison between a sovereign state and a terrorist organization.
Oh, God.
That is shameful. So let's ask the question, on what basis?
You guys can't unhear it, can you? Every single time you hear this man's voice in the back of your mind, you're gonna hear the count. And that's on purpose.
On what moral ground does the Secretary General equate a democracy defending its citizens with an Iranian-backed terrorist proxy?
Oh my God.
There is no answer to that. To put them in the same category is a complete distortion of reality. Secretary General Guterres, this is shameful. Retract your comments, correct the record, do your job. Separately, what we are seeing right now in the Strait of Hormuz should concern every country in the General Assembly. Iran is trying to choke one of the world's most important waterways and turn it into weapons.
By the way, to the people who don't know who this is Danny Danon, who is the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations. And so he is the same guy who got really pissed off at children's drawings at the United Nations depicting Palestine. And he said that this was terrorism or whatever. So I can show you that clip after. But this was something he said a couple of days ago, and I wanted to kind of watch it with you guys.
Block ships, they harass them, then they name a price. Pay and you pass, refuse and you are stopped. That is not trade. That is economic terrorism. We know it affects our economies. And look what happened here. After weeks of negotiations, even a stripped-down Security Council resolution was vetoed. So, we have to be clear about what comes next. We need a clear resolution, strong one that will deal with the enriched uranium, with the ballistic missiles, with the proxies. That's what we expect from the Security Council. But there is one thing that is very troubling, is that some countries choose to go behind closed doors and sign secret deals with the Iranian regime. No transparency, no accountability.
Can I just say, had you not had social media, would we have believed all of these different politicians? Genuine question. If you didn't have other independent outlets to educate yourself on what is actually happening on the ground, would you have believed these politicians if you only were watching the TV?
Also shameful. Last week, we heard reports that the Iranian regime was charging $1 million per ship for passage. This week, the price went up to $2 million. What will happen next week? $5 million? That's extortion. And today I will ask my colleague in the General Assembly to expose those agreements, to tell us what they were willing to pay in order to pass in the Straits. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador from the Associated Press. Prime Minister Netanyahu has said that Israeli forces will remain in a wider area in southern Lebanon. Hezbollah has said that it will not stop fighting until all Israeli forces are out.
Speaking of, yes, it did, Simone. Speaking of terrorism, right? I want to show you guys a clip. Hold on. Where is it? Now how can I find the clip? Wait, where was it? I want to show you guys a clip of what they're actually doing in Lebanon, by the way. Because it's legitimately disturbing. Damn. I'll try to find it.
As this ceasefire is expected to start now, what's your reaction to that possibility?
We will have to follow very carefully what's happening on the ground, and if we will feel threatened, we will react. We are not going anywhere. We are holding our positions. We agreed for 10 days holding those positions, having a ceasefire. And we all know that, the problem is not with the Lebanese government. The problem is with Hezbollah. And it will be challenging. We believe in direct negotiation with Lebanon, but we are aware of the complexity that you deal with the Lebanese government, but Hezbollah, they don't take orders from the Lebanese government. They take orders from Iran. We know it's complex, but we are willing to give it a try.
What kind of negotiations are you expecting to take place? Another round in Washington, perhaps?
Well, we had on Tuesday a meeting in Washington. We want to thank Secretary Rubio and his team for their efforts. Prime Minister Netanyahu raised the opportunity of coming to Washington to have discussions in Washington, D.C. We are open. We are open to negotiate. We want to see peace between Israel and Lebanon. But as I said earlier, we know that it's complicated because Hezbollah is very involved in the Lebanese government, very involved on the ground, and the Lebanese government will have to stretch their muscles and apply sovereignty over Lebanon.
Good afternoon, Ambassador Chris Reyes with the Canadian Broadcasting. Prime Minister Netanyahu said today that he expects that President Trump will be inviting him and the Lebanese president to meet. There are reports that the Lebanese president has been hesitant to have this meeting. Are you confident that this meeting will take place? And can you share timelines on when the next meetings will take place between your country and Lebanon?
So I think it's too early. We will come to any meeting to promote peace. But I cannot speak for the Lebanese government. We know that they are under pressure and threats from...
By the way, promoting peace in this case just means forcing Lebanon to normalize with Israel, which I think there was a poll that was done. Over 80%, I think it was over 85% of Lebanese citizens said that they are fundamentally against normalization with Israel. So the overwhelming majority of the population does not want to normalize, but I think that's the end goal, of course, for Israel when it's talking about peace.
And I will share with you the one example. They decided to expel the Iranian ambassador from Beirut. A very clear decision. The ambassador is still in Beirut, very active there, trying to run the show instead of the Lebanese government. So we will have to see what they are doing. But I would advise them, to apply sovereignty, to be strong, and to take advantage of the situation that we created on the ground, that we have weakened Iran and Hezbollah today.
When do you hope the next meeting will take place?
I don't have a timetable, but whenever the president will call us, we will come.
By the way, when they're talking about weakening Iran, about 60% of Iran's navy is still intact. So the goals that they said that they're going to achieve, they haven't achieved.
Thank you very much.
Slowly getting faster. Once I start counting, it's very hard to stop. Hey, faster, faster. It is so exciting. I could count forever. Count until I drop. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. I love counting whatever the amount. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. That's the song of the count.
Does he have the same hairstyle too? Thank you so much, Swan, for the gifts, by the way. Gifts are much appreciated. I love y'all so much, genuinely. And happy birthday, Swan. Happy birthday, Swan. Gifts are much appreciated, 100%. Thank you very much. And happy birthday, Swan, sis. Also, have you guys heard of the Sudan Berlin conference that happened like 5 days ago? 6 days ago. So there was a conference in Berlin that was basically organized by so I'll just inform y'all on this. So the Germany, the United States, the United Kingdom, France, organized, and the African Union and the European Union organized a conference in Berlin. It was supposed to be the third or fourth conference since the start of the genocide and war in Sudan. The third conference, sorry. The other two conferences were in Paris and London, if I'm not mistaken. And this conference had a couple goals. The goal number one was to find some kind of funding, generate funding for Sudan. The second goal was to pressure the RSF and the SAF, which are the two entities that are fighting currently, to negotiate. Can people in the chat guess who was at this supposed peace conference in Berlin? Which is very ironic that the peace conference is being held in Berlin, you know, like the last time Berlin held a conference about Africa like this. Yeah. Can you guess which entity was at this conference? Cake, you're correct. The United Arab Emirates. So they are holding a conference to bring peace to Sudan and stop the genocide. So they invite the entity that is doing and funding and aiding and abetting the genocide to be a part of the conference. Do you want to know who was not at the conference? Want to guess who was not at the conference, chat? Just Sudan. Sudan was not at the conference. So they made a conference about Sudan in Berlin where they claimed that they wanted to bring peace to Sudan, but they didn't invite the representatives of Sudan, but they instead invited the entity that is doing the genocide. Right?
International donors meeting here in Berlin today pledged 1.5 billion euros for Sudan. But that still falls short of what aid agencies say is needed. A devastating civil war has killed tens of thousands.
Civil war. It's not a civil war. It's an invasion. That is also something that is so harmful to say, by the way.
Thousands of civilians and displaced millions more. As the conflict enters its fourth year, the United Nations is calling for a humanitarian ceasefire.
Sudan is facing the most severe humanitarian crisis in the world. In a new report, the United Nations says almost 2/3 of the population is now in urgent need of assistance. More than 150,000 people have been killed and over 11 million displaced since war broke out in 2023 between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. The report found that poverty is now at its most extreme since the 1980s, with millions living under the threat of famine.
We were in El Fasher when the war started. It was terrible. If you can't find food for your children, they go without. There are no jobs. The only aid we get is from the United Nations.
The UN says recovery is still possible if peace is restored, but warns that every month war continues, the more difficult it gets. The Berlin conference aimed to raise enough money to provide aid to 14 million people. Attended by foreign ministers and other delegates from more than 50 countries, it drew large contributions.
Germany pledges 212 million euro of our humanitarian assistance to Sudan and the neighboring countries.
Norway today commits 42 million euros.
I'm sorry, this is just like a circle jerk of people thinking that they can feel good.
For humanitarian efforts and early recovery.
So I can confirm today the UK will commit £146 million, that is over 165 million euros in life-saving aid to Sudan. And as part of that, the UK will double our support to local aid groups, including the emergency response rooms and women-led organisations.
But total donations fell short of the target. Delegates also called on the warring parties to agree to international efforts for a peace deal.
How are you going to do a peace deal? Genuine question. How did they expect Sudanese people to do a peace deal with an entity that is eating their liver? The RSF, there was video, by the way, showing like an RSF fighter eating somebody's liver. Okay? They're hooking people up in blood banks, makeshift blood banks. Yeah, and I saw that video. I literally saw that video of what the RSF fighter was doing, and I couldn't even post it in my Discord. That is like that is how graphic the video was, that even Discord wouldn't allow me to post the video. And you mean to tell me that you're trying to force Sudanese people to make peace with this entity and negotiate with it? Makeshift blood banks. That's what they're doing.
To the Sudanese army and the rapid support forces, I say again, there is an alternative to war. You must commit to the path of negotiation and peace.
With none of the leaders of those parties present.
To give you like an equivalent to maybe people who are not very familiar with like the dynamics, this would be like asking Jewish people in the middle of World War II to sit down and negotiate with the Yazidis. That's basically the equivalent of this.
Again, there is an alternative to war. You must commit to the path of negotiation and peace.
With none of the leaders of those parties present, ministers faced an insurmountable challenge. But this third Sudan conference has at least temporarily drawn attention back to a conflict that is being forgotten among other global crises. Delegates hope it will serve as a wake-up call that the war in Sudan is not going away and that the Sudanese people are still suffering.
DW's Tina Gerhorzer was at the talks here in Berlin. She has more now on the international aid effort for Sudan.
The pledges coming from the Sudan conference here in Berlin are higher than we could have expected in times of budget cuts of humanitarian aid. But it's still less than needed. The UN says 2.5 billion euro are necessary to better...
The UAE messed with that country, Kisera. The UAE is actively messing with a lot of East African countries, by the way. There's another country that the UAE is messing with as well currently. And that is South Sudan. So South Sudan,
Breaking news from northern Jonglei State, South Sudan.
So the UAE is here funding the South Sudanese government. Yes, the UAE is basically gaining a lot of money. So who is sending the donations, by the way, is Sheikh Mansour. So this is the guy, hold on. Sheikh Mansour, who is the vice president of the UAE, okay? There's a great New York Times article on him. This guy. This is the guy who's behind it, right? So, for example, what did they do? They built a Red Crescent hospital in Chad. And they claimed that this hospital was supposed to be for Sudanese refugees. And they were saying they're so humanitarian, we're helping the Sudanese refugees, yada, 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 yada. Later on, though, that hospital was receiving a lot of cargo planes, specifically at night. And then it was discovered that those cargo planes were actually full of not only medication, but weapons. And then it was kind of figured out that that hospital was being used to treat RSF fighters who were doing the G-side. So the UAE initially claimed to be humanitarian and claimed that it was building this hospital in Chad to help Sudanese refugees who were fleeing into Chad, because Chad is borders Sudan. But instead, it was actually for RSF fighters. And the cargo planes that were arriving were not only medication to restock the hospital, but it was also actively to arm RSF fighters. So the UAE does that. It kind of gives a little bit, and you have to understand, the UAE is made up of 7, that's why it's called the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. It's made up of 7 different emirates or 7 monarchs. Each monarchy is controlled by a family. Now, the main monarchy within the UAE, which is the capital monarchy as well, is called Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is run by the Nahyan family. And usually, it has been this way the whole time. The Nahyan family has been also the family that has kind of led the whole country. So usually the leader of of Abu Dhabi becomes the president of the United Arab Emirates. And then this guy, Sheikh Mansour, is also from the Nahyan family. And his brother, Mohammed bin Zayed, is also from the Nahyan family, and he's the current president, right? So, Sheikh Mansour is the handler of Abu Dhabi, of the UAE. Okay? So the handler being, he is the one who actively coordinates the weapon sales, who coordinates the creation of these networks. He has ties to the Haftar government in Libya. He had ties to the STC in South Yemen. He had ties to in Chad, has ties in the Central African Republic, in South Sudan, in all of these different countries, right? So I'll show it to you. Hold on. So if you go to Vista Maps, right, you see which territories the RSF currently controls and which territories the SAF, the Sudanese government, controls. So everything that is green is controlled by the Sudanese government. Everything that is yellow is controlled by the RSF. So this militia, this terrorist entity, and you have to ask yourself, how is this terrorist entity that doesn't have an air force, it's not like an actual military, how is it militarized enough to be going after one of the largest militaries in Africa, which is Sudan? Sudan is a large country, it had a large, strong military, and for some reason they're unable to defeat the RSF, and that is because of how militarized the RSF is. Now, if you go here, UAE is partnered with Chad, it's partnered with Libya, partnered with South Sudan, partnered with Uganda, partnered with Rwanda, partnered with Kenya, and with Chad, and with Central African Republic. So basically, it's encircling Sudan. Let me do the puzzle thing. It's encircling Sudan. And not only Sudan, it is also encircling Congo. So here's Congo. UAE is getting involved in Tanzania. It's involved in Rwanda. It's involved in Angola. It's involved in Central African Republic. Not too sure about Gabon and Zambia. I have to look into that. But basically, the UAE is encircling these 2 countries so that they get attacked on every single side. And that is what it has successfully done to Sudan, right? So now it's being attacked from Haftar, from here, from the north. It's being attacked from Chad. It's being attacked from the Central African Republic. It's being attacked from here, from South Sudan. And it's also being attacked from Ethiopia. But you have to understand that it's not all South Sudanese people. It's the South Sudanese government, because the South Sudanese government, allied with the UAE, is also massacring his own people. Nuer communities within South Sudan are currently being massacred, like ethnic targeted massacring, and the UAE is helping him in that. And as an exchange for that, a lot of front companies that the UAE has to arm the RSF are registered in South Sudan. The gold being smuggled, a lot of it gets smuggled through Juba, which is the capital city of South Sudan, and goes through the UAE, which is right here. That's where the UAE is. And it gives him weapons as well, right? So that's what the UAE is currently doing. And if you look at the map, you then understand its strategy. So this is in South Sudan, right?
Hundreds of civilians have been forced to flee their homes following deadly clashes between the South Sudan People's Defense Forces and the SPLA-IO.
Now again, let's look at the map. By the way, this map is called Vista Map. It's really, really good. Really good. Hi, Matt. So, here's South Sudan, right? This is what we were talking about. We're talking about the attacks are happening around here. Jonglei is where they're happening. Jonglei State and Upper Nile State around here. So the attacks are happening. The attacks that we just saw right now are happening here and happening here. This is Nasser. And then Akowa is going to be somewhere around here. Right? So while they're doing that, by the way, as you see here, the RSF allied forces, which is the SPLM-N, which is the force that is allied with the South Sudanese government, is attacking Sudan from here as well. And then you have Ethiopia being involved right from here, from Asosa. They have built whole RSF camps here. The UAE has. This is why I'm telling you, to me personally, I personally think the UAE is worse than Israel when it comes to the African continent. So they built whole RSF camps in this region, the Beni Shangul region, right? And they're actively attacking Sudan from here. And then very recently, they took this city right here, Kurmuk. Hold on, let me see if you can see it. This one. This city they took just very recently. And the attack to take this city came out of Ethiopia. So the UAE has successfully, completely encircled Sudan. And they're being attacked by like 70 to 50 different countries. Okay, and that's precisely why the humanitarian crisis is abysmal. It is the largest humanitarian crisis in the world currently. The publicly recognized number of 150,000 is not actually like a real number. It's a massive, massive underestimate. Like at least around 400 to 500,000 people have been unalived. And that's only from active war. You have famine. There are about 10 recognized famines. El Fasher was going through famine for like 18 months before it finally fell. In El Fasher alone, right here. This is El Fasher. In El Fasher alone, at least 60,000 people were unalived in 3 weeks in this one city. That is how high the death toll is currently in Sudan. 60,000 people, at least in 3 weeks. Yeah. You want to know what's worse? I'll read it out to you guys. Hold on. I have it right here. Give me a second. Let me read it out to you guys because I have the whole article here. It was presented to the British Parliament. They said at least 60,000 because they said 150,000 were missing, unaccounted for, and potentially dead. 150,000 in 3 weeks, okay? Hold on. Where is it? Give me a second. Right here. Hold on. So, it says here, this was, if you want to read the article, it's called RSF Massacres Left Sudanese City a Slaughterhouse. So if you scroll down in the article, it says here, while the final death toll of the massacre remains unclear, British MPs have been briefed that at least 60,000 have been unalived in El Fasher. Sarah Champion, chair of the Commons International Development Select Committee, said members received a private briefing on Sudan at which one of the academics stated a low estimate is 60,000 people have been unalived there in the last 3 weeks. As many as 150,000 residents of El Fasher remain unaccounted for since the city fell. Where are they? Where are the 150,000? It's a genuine question. How is this not on mainstream news? 60,000 at least, low estimate. 60 to 150,000 people vanish in 3 weeks. Where are they? Right? And this is why the Berlin conference that happened on April the 15th was a complete sham. Because they invited the entity, the United Arab Emirates, that is doing this. That entity that is enabling the unaliving of 60 to potentially 150,000 people in 3 weeks was invited to a supposed peace conference for Sudan? I want you to watch Nathaniel Raymond.
We got ground photos from El Janeda pretty early on in the killing that we had not made public. And that became very...
I really want you to watch this clip, okay? He explains how the RSF tends to attack cities.
We got ground photos from El Janeda pretty early on in the killing that we had not made public. And that became very important because we were using them to measure the bodies because there were so many body piles of Masalit men and boys. They basically caught this one neighborhood and blocked it off. And they raped the women and the girls, but the women and the girls would gather the bodies and put them in basically a mausoleum they created out of a schoolhouse. And so we could navigate and follow the RSF killing from space using the body piles as navigation points. They were killing so many. And so we got very good measurement that the average dead Masalit boy was 1.3 meters and dead Masalit man was 2 meters in 30 centimeter very high resolution satellite imagery. And so we then detect through NASA sensors thermal plumes exploding to the north and a little bit to the south, but mostly the north-northwest. Serba, the village of Serba goes up. We watch that from space as they attack like hyenas. They come in on one side to lead the people in one direction and they attack from the other direction very closely. And so what I'm saying is we assessed at that point for the US government that the RSF was using the fighting the capital to finish the Darfur genocide beginning with the Masalit. And we sent a very important secret warning saying that Al Fasher would likely be under attack by the end of the 2023-2024 dry season. So we sent a message to the US government that up to the National Security Council, National Intelligence Council, that Al Fasher was going to be under attack probably at earliest November 23 into the beginning of 24. And we briefed the UN Security Council in private session in July 2023. So we were 2.5 years from the massacre in Al Fasher that would happen on October 26th until now. And so we had 2.5 years of warning. And we could see from how they were moving the forces out of Janeda, they were attacking the critical SAF garrisons, but also the communities around Zelenji, Nyala, Kas, Armada, the Bulbul massacre. And so they were basically creating this net that the focus was Al Fashir. And the reason why Al Fashir was so important, to go back to the first genocide, is that the Zagawa in the fore, really because of, in a way, success of UN peacekeeping, had run to Al Fashir as the safe haven. And around Al Fashir, you have Al Salam, Abu Shuk, and most importantly, Zamzam camp, 12 kilometers to the south. So on one hand...
Yes, they have been warning for 2 years. They warned the UN Security Council, they warned the US government for 2 years while this city was under siege that it was going to get attacked and the people were going to be massacred.
They go into the safe haven and they become sitting ducks. And so we could see by the time we get to the spring of 2024, so we sat the siege watching from space for 18 months. The siege lasted 18 months. I want to put this in perspective. Al Fashir was under siege for 3.5 times Stalingrad and 3/4 the siege of Leningrad during World War II. Gaza was under IPC-5 for I think a month to 2 months, correct me if I'm wrong. We were under IPC-5 in Al Fashir, integrated phase classification level 5, highest level of famine, for 15 months. Okay, 15 months. And now that the massacre has happened and the city has fallen to the RSF, the aid workers that we talked to, and this is a good lead-in to my friend, that those who have arrived in Tawila, which Nick mentioned, which is the last safe haven out of Al Fashir, those very few that have arrived have one of the highest rates of malnutrition we have ever recorded in my knowledge as a humanitarian. And who arrived out of the massacre? It was women and unaccompanied minor children. Why? Because they were killing the men and boys at a burn. They built a wall around Al Fashir by the fall of this past year that we were the first to catch it. It was 9 feet high, and they had bulldozers working around the clock in backhoes, 37 kilometers long. They created a kill box, and they walled in the remaining 4 in the Zagawa in the city, basically the last major battle to date of the Darfur genocide. And when it fell, we could see the street filled overnight with 1.3 meter to 2 meter objects. And they were in C shape, J shape, or L shape. That's because when you shoot someone and you look at them from space when they get shot, they'll fall in the fetal position or on their knees. And so we saw trucks with 50 cal machine guns, and we would see 0.5 meter red discoloration on the ground, and that was blood. And we think we got a call, this is where I'll end. We had a ground network. We think they're all dead now. Our ground guys call us on Monday after the fall, and in the morning they say 1,200 of our family members and friends are dead. By that evening, they say 10,000. By Tuesday, we never got them on the phone again.
By that evening, 10,000. Can you imagine that? 10,000 just being snuffed by that evening? How is that even, these numbers, my brain cannot even understand these numbers. This is one of the victims, by the way.
Inaya Abdullah fled Al Fashir after it fell under RSF control. She says she escaped with her pregnant sister, leaving her husband behind, but the RSF stopped them on the outskirts of the city as her sister went into labor.
They asked my sister if she gave birth.
I'm talking about news updates. So this live is about news updates, and I'm updating people about what's happening in West Asia and what's happening in East Africa too. So that's what this live is going to be about.
Sister went into labor.
They asked my sister if she gave birth to a girl or a boy. She said it was a girl. They held the baby and said it's a boy. Then they went and brought wood, lit it, and boiled water and put the baby inside. The baby died. My sister died shortly after out of heartache. And my husband has been missing ever since. He didn't come with us. We don't know where he is.
Yeah. So the fact that they did this sham
The ongoing
Berlin conference, 100%.
conflict enters its 4th year. The government criticized a donor conference that Germany is hosting today, accusing the event of interfering in the...
So this is Sudan's response to that conference, by the way.
The ongoing conflict enters its 4th year. The government criticized a donor conference that Germany is hosting today, accusing the event of interfering in the country's internal affairs. Khartoum says it was not consulted ahead of the meeting in Berlin and warned that any engagement with paramilitary groups risks undermining state sovereignty. Berlin says the gathering aims to mobilize aid for what it describes as one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. It also aims to revive stalled peace efforts, although both warring sides, the Sudanese army and the paramilitary rapid support forces, have been excluded from the conference.
The RSF hasn't really been excluded, though, because the UAE was there and all the representatives that ally with it were also there. It was mostly the Sudanese military or the government that were excluded.
As the Sudan war enters its fourth year, an MEE investigation shines light on why it's still happening. Ethiopia is covertly supporting Sudan's paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, from a national army base near the western city of Asosa. This is despite Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed.
They said Asosa, by the way. Hold on. Let me show y'all where Asosa is so you guys can get a better image. Hold on. This is Asosa. Right here. So it's right here. And they're able to attack Sudan because this yellow part is Sudan. They're able to attack Sudan from right here. Let's go back.
Ahmed, pictured here with Sudan's leader, claiming neutrality in the war. And it's part of a wider web of international collusion in lucrative illegal trades through Sudan that have displaced millions and protracted the biggest humanitarian crisis in the world. The Sudan war is a people's revolution hijacked and a civil feud compounded by extraterritorial interests, money, geopolitics, ethnic hate. Fought officially between Abdel Fattah al-Burhan.
That's not a civil war, it's not a civil dispute, it's an invasion.
Of the Sudanese Armed Forces, or SAF, and RSF leader Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hemeti. But the list of unofficial international actors is long, from the UAE to the EU, trading weapons or people or gold.
Speaking of gold, 97% of Sudanese gold goes to the UAE. Also, when was the last time y'all chewed gum? In the chat. You guys might think it's a stupid question. When was the last time, do y'all have a soft drink right next to you? Yeah. Do you have a soft drink right next to you? You have gum? So, a good ingredient, a main ingredient in gum or a soft drink. Now turn the soft drink, look at the ingredients. In the ingredients, do you find this thing called Arabic gum? Yep, you're chewing gum right now. Arabic gum. See if you find that on your soft drink. Requiem said yes. Habesha Archive said yes, they find it. 80% of the world's Arabic gum comes from Sudan. About 80%. Right? Arabic gum is actually not even from Arabia. The only reason it's called Arabic gum is because European merchants encountered it in Arabian markets, and they called it Arabic gum, but it actually comes from Africa. It comes from the Sahel region and from Sudan. So about 80% of, I'll just call it Sahelian gum, comes from Sudan. And the RSF is also trading that. So next time you drink an energy drink or some kind of carbonated drink, check the ingredients if it says Arabic gum, or check its actual its name, you know. It's also called gum base, exactly. It's called gum base in some ingredients, Arabic gum, gum base. There's different variations to it, but you can find it in your makeup. You can find it exactly, chronically sprouting it's gum base. That's what it's called. That is Arabic gum. It can be referred to as gum base. It can be referred to as Arabic gum. It can be referred to different names. But look it up in your products. It can be found in makeup. It can be found in medication, pharmaceuticals, in your chewing gum. So you can't even chew gum. This is the world that we live in. You can't even chew gum without being implicated in G-side. No, you're not supporting Sudan because it's the RSF that is smuggling this now. It's in my juice I'm drinking right now. Exactly, Dre. It's in everything. Arabic gum is in a lot of things. So again, it is much, much closer than you think. I know people think it's far away country. It's not bothering me at all. Like I'm not involved in it. No, you are implicated. Because it's literally in everything.
Dark money flows right to your doorstep. Regional tensions are escalating. In early March, Sudan's military government openly accused Ethiopia of involvement and warned Addis Ababa of undefined consequences. Oscar Rickett is one of two MEE journalists who broke the story. He's with me in the studio. Oscar, your report was based on
But that's the point of that's why I keep saying there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. Because even the simple act of chewing gum implicates you in the G side of other people.
Light analysis by Yale School of Public Health's Humanitarian Research Lab. And this showed suspicious activity at this military base dating back to at least November. Exactly what kind of suspicious activity are we talking about?
Yeah, so hi, Matilda. We had been...
By the way, me saying this doesn't mean I'm shaming people who are implicated. You have no choice. You are going to be implicated. The point here is, what are you going to do about it? Now we know that we're all implicated. But what are you going to do about it? Are you going to understand the urgency of the situation and actively try to do something against it?
Working with Yale's HRL for a few months because I think probably in October or November, I started to hear from sources about the possibility of an RSF training camp in the Benishangul Gumuz region of Western Ethiopia. It's a war-torn place anyway. There's a large number of refugees from there, internally displaced people. It's also crucially very near the Sudanese borders, near the Blue Nile state. What then happened was that in February, Reuters reported the existence of what they claimed to be a base close to a mining site in the Menge district.
This is the base that the UAE built, by the way. Now, if maybe you guys understand why I was low-key kind of happy, not gonna lie, that the UAE was getting hit by Iran, and that is because of the amount of destruction that they're doing.
District of Benishangul Gumuz. We were not sure about that, and then Yale and Middle East Eye were able to pinpoint the existence of assistance to the RSF at an Ethiopian national army.
Sorry to pause, but somebody said, I bet they're exploiting labor. Yes, so initially it was Sudanese farmers who were active in the trade, and it was largely ignored by the RSF, right? And it was Sudanese farmers on the ground who used to actively try to sell Sudanese gum. But as soon as the RSF found out that this is a very lucrative business, that you can make money off of it, they started forcing the Sudanese farmers to harvest it and then to kind of give it to them. And now they're making money off of it. So there is also exploited labor included in that too. Yes, you're right.
Army base in Asosa, which is the capital of Benishangul Gumuz. The base itself is on the outskirts of Assosa, and it's not a training camp. It's an Ethiopian army base. But what we saw through satellite imagery, but also from remote sensing data, and from ground sources, was the transfer of large number of technical vehicles into the base at Assosa. They then go out and they are seen in footage of fighting in Sudan's Blue Nile state. You also see in the satellite imagery the retrofitting of vehicles to turn them into APCs. So you put machine guns on them, basically. None of these vehicles, by the way, are consistent with anything the Ethiopian army has. They're consistent with what the RSF has. We could also see through videos online and through other sources, the passage of some of these vehicles and car carriers from Berbera, the port on the Somali coast that hosts or did host until relatively recently an Emirati base, and of course the United Arab Emirates is the primary patron of the RSF, though it continues to deny it. The other things that we saw in the satellite imagery, we saw Connex containers turning up, we saw the disbursement of supplies, we saw the installation of tents, and all of these things were consistent with support for the RSF. We would then see, the vehicles for people, as I've said, we would see them turning up in fighting in Blue Nile, and the RSF and its allied forces have made significant grounds in Blue Nile state over the last few months, and they've done this they've invaded from Ethiopia, from Ethiopian territory, and they have, we would say, and I think that neither the RSF nor the UAE nor the Ethiopian army have denied it. It's happened.
And the worst part is, by the way, the RSF in these recent fighting in the Blue Nile state, they are using a lot of child soldiers. Hold on. They're using a lot of child soldiers in this current fighting coming out of Ethiopia. Hold on, where is it? So last time on one of their Facebook pages, they were mourning the death of one of their quote-unquote soldiers. So this is one of the RSF soldiers who was caught, by the way. He's a child. So he's caught by the SAF, and he's a soldier. Right? And then the other one is, hold on, where is it? Here. This is the other kid. This is a kid who was unalived in the fighting. He is an RSF soldier. He doesn't look older than 13, maybe. So, yeah. They were robbed of their youth, exactly. By the way, this is something new that just came in, well, a couple of hours ago. This is the parliament speaker in Iran, Mohammed Bajir. He says a complete ceasefire only makes sense if it's not violated by the maritime blockade and the hostage taking of the world's economy, and if the Zionist warmongering across all fronts is halted. Reopening the Strait of Hormuz is impossible with such a flagrant breach of the ceasefire. They did not achieve their goals through military aggression, nor will they through bullying. The only way forward is to recognize the rights of the Iranian nation. So it says here, Iran is believed to retain more military capability than publicly acknowledged by the U.S., according to CBS, citing U.S. officials familiar with intelligence assessments. Roughly half of Iran's ballistic missile stockpile and launch systems remained intact at the start of the ceasefire in early April, while about 60% of the IRGC Navy, including fast attack boats, also started. Didn't they say they destroyed the whole Navy? In the beginning, like in the first week, they were saying they destroyed the whole Navy, but 60% of the Navy remains intact. Although Iran's air power has been significantly degraded, around 2/3 of its air force is still considered operational. Iran's judiciary yesterday called President Trump claim. Oh my goodness! So Trump released like a Truth Social post saying, to the Iranian leaders who will soon be in negotiations with my representatives, I would greatly appreciate the release of these women. I'm sure that they will respect the fact that you did so. Please do them no harm. Would be a great start to our negotiations. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Then he says, very good news. I have just been informed that the 8 women protesters who were going to be executed tonight in Iran will no longer be unalived. 4 will be released immediately and 4 will be sentenced to 1 month in prison. I very much appreciate that Iran and its leaders respected my request as President of the United States and terminated the planned execution. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Then Iran's judiciary responds to that and says, Iran's judiciary yesterday called President Trump's claim that 8 women had been sentenced to death fake news. It said that half of the women had already been released, while the others were receiving sentences that did not include the death penalty. They said President Trump fell for baseless anti-Iranian propaganda. It could take 6 months to clear this. This is the Pentagon. The Pentagon said it could take 6 months to clear the Strait of Hormuz of mines placed by the Iranian military, and the effort likely would not begin until after the war with Iran ends. Boy. Hizb has carried out multiple operations in response to Israeli ceasefire violations targeting IDF positions in southern Lebanon. The IDF has yet to respond in a meaningful way and is being held back from doing so by the political establishment, according to Israeli media. What does she say here?
Look, again, I'm not going to set a timetable for the president. He has not done that, and I won't. I know there's been some anonymous sourced reporting that there was maybe a 3 to 5 day deadline. That is not true. The president has not set a deadline himself. Ultimately, he will dictate the timetable. And again, he is satisfied with the naval blockade. Look, again.
Yikes. U.S. forces have directed 29 vessels to turn around or return to port as part of the U.S. blockade against Iran. Over past 24 hours, media reports have alleged that several commercial ships evaded the blockade, citing MV Hero, the second MV Haiti, and MV Doreno as examples. These reports are inaccurate. Hero 2 and Haiti did not sail past the blockade as part of the flotilla that ferried millions of barrels of oil to the market. In fact, the Iranian-flagged tankers are anchored in Shah Bahar, Iran, after being intercepted by U.S. forces earlier this week. Dorena has been under the escort of a U.S. Navy destroyer in the Indian Ocean after previously attempting to violate the blockade. The U.S. military has global reach. American forces are operating and enforcing the blockade across the Middle East and beyond. This is according to U.S. CENTCOM. Laura Loomer has lost her defamation lawsuit against HBO and Bill Maher over his joke about her having sex with Donald Trump. Sorry, I just puked a little bit in my mouth. The idea of that. The legal battle over the Virginia gerrymandering referendum has officially begun. The Tazewell Circuit Court has ruled the referendum unconstitutional and blocked its certification. The Democrats are immediately appealing this, and the case will end up very quickly in front of the Virginia Supreme Court. Massive explosions above Erbil, northern Iraq, due to U.S. interceptions, likely against Iranian projectiles, either drones or missiles. Fighter jets from U.S. Air Force have intercepted at least 2 Iranian kamikaze drones over Erbil, which is in northern Iraq. Indonesia's finance minister today proposed the idea of placing a toll on ships transiting the Strait of Malacca. Indonesia is not a marginal country. We sit along a key global trade and energy route, yet ships passing through the Malacca Strait are not charged. He cited Iran's Hormuz idea and proposed sharing revenue with Malaysia and Singapore. Singapore opposes any tolls. The IRGC has released footage showing its forces seizing the MSC Epaminondas vessel. Interesting. What other news did we miss? Oh. Yesterday, a massive data breach was reported to at the ANTS, which is France's National Secured Titles Administration. Around 12 million accounts had their data exposed to a third party. The ANTS is the organism treating French citizens' biometric data, national data, cards, passports, visas, and so on. This is the 5th major cybersecurity breach of a French official national database in 7 months. What other news is there? The United Kingdom Parliament has introduced a total ban on tobacco and vapes for anyone born after 2008. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's good. Prevention is better than cure. This reform will save lives, ease pressure on the NHS, and build a healthier Britain. That's really good, actually. I can't believe people who are born after 2008 are old enough to start smoking. Hold on. What else is here? Iran doesn't want the Strait of Hormuz closed. They want it open so they can make $500 million a day, which is therefore what they're losing if it is closed. They only say they want it closed because I have it totally blocked. Closed. This is what Trump is saying, by the way. They only say they want it closed because I have it totally blockaded, closed. So they merely want to save face. People approached me 4 days ago saying, "Sir, Iran wants to open up the strait immediately. But if we do that, there can never be a deal with Iran unless we blow up the rest of their country." Oh. Is this not genocidal? Unless we blow up the rest of their country, their leaders included. Wow. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, this is a whole paragraph, y'all. Let's see what he says. An idiot on the Wall Street Journal's editorial board named Elliot Kaufman just wrote an op-ed entitled "The Iranians Take Trump for a Sucker." Really? For 47 years, they have killed our people and many others and taken advantage of every president except me. And what did I give to them? A country in tatters. Who even says tatters? Their entire navy is at the bottom of the sea. Their air force is gone. Their anti-aircraft and radar is wiped out. Their nuclear labs and storage areas were obliterated. Thank you for the gifts. I appreciate y'all. Late one dark June evening by our great B-2 bombers. Their leaders are dead, including General Soleimani, their evil genius who destroyed the lives of so many with his favorite roadside bombs. The Strait of Hormuz is blockaded and totally controlled by the U.S., with no ships allowed to go to Iranian ports. It is said, thank you so much for the gifts. It is said that they are losing $500 million a day because of this. Their country is an economic catastrophe that is hanging by a thread. Barack Hussein Obama gave them $1.7 billion in green cash flown in by a Boeing 757 to their leaders and hundreds of billions of dollars in order to help them on their way to a nuclear bomb. Other presidents did nothing to stop them. A blight on the office of the presidency, but despite all of this, I have a moron on the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal writing about me being taken for a sucker. Iran certainly doesn't think so. Neither does anyone else. I guess Rupert Murdoch told him to write it this way because the Wall Street Journal has lost its way. No longer required reading, just another failing political rag. President Donald J. Trump. Sorry. It's actually crazy. Actually diabolical, yo. I try. He's a sucker. Have you seen? Oh yeah, I have seen the Lego videos.
Reports of killings, bombings, and mass destruction are emerging from newer areas, including Lankian, Walgak, and Ui. Among those displaced is Niadil, who says she lost her mother in a government bombardment of a local market in Lankian. She now bears the responsibility of caring for her 5 siblings after being separated from their father. Other survivors tell of homes burned, markets destroyed, and civilians, including the elderly and nursing mothers, killed. Par, a resident of Walgak, claims at least 8 women were killed, and villages including Pangarnger, Nayanwer, Koat Riang, and Patay were razed. Nyatosha Ruach walked for 4 days from Ui to Akobo, fearing for her life. She joins many others in desperate need of food, shelter, and clothing after fleeing indiscriminate shelling and gunfire targeting civilians.
Thank you, John Brown.
Community leaders in Juba, representing the Lu Nuer, say the violence is now targeting non-combatants. They warn that homes, schools, markets, and health facilities have been destroyed, leaving civilians vulnerable to hunger and disease. The Lu Nuer Community Council is calling for an immediate cessation of hostilities and urgent humanitarian aid. Northern Jonglei has been gripped by fighting since December 2025, and thousands remain displaced. Satellite imagery.
As I just said, the whole region is suffering. I'm not gonna lie. The whole region is suffering. So
it's the latest flashpoint of fighting between the government and opposition supporters in South Sudan. Violence has broken out in the opposition-held town of Akobo, sources said on Wednesday. The unrest has forced hundreds of thousands to flee their homes and left scores without humanitarian aid. It comes after the army instructed foreign aid agencies to leave the town.
So the South Sudanese president is basically targeting like a rebel leader called Riek Machar, and that guy is Nuer. And the South Sudanese president is basically claiming that he is fighting against anybody who swears loyalty to him. But the problem is he's just attacking his whole ethnic group, because he is basically targeting his whole ethnic group under the assumption that everyone in his ethnic group, by virtue of them being within his ethnic group,
last week, ahead of an offensive to bring the town back under government control.
We're going to swear loyalty to him, right? Sorry, I paused it on like a gun. Yeah, that's what's happening. He's basically targeting people, Nuer people. Exactly, Nuer, thank you very much. Those are the communities, the Nuer communities he's targeting.
With communications limited, it has been complicated to confirm events on the ground.
So remember the initiative that I was telling you guys to donate for Akobo? I was going around for the past like month or two, for a month actually, asking you guys to donate to an initiative that was to help the newer communities in South Sudan, because they are actively being targeted by Salva Kiir, who is an ally also of the UAE, by the way. He's backed by the UAE. So again, the UAE at the scene of the fucking crime.
The security agency in the country confirmed that the army had entered Akobo on Tuesday and that there have been clashes across the town. Some 200,000 people have fled to nearby Tirgol on the Ethiopian border.
And it's all because they want, again, control over these trade routes. They want to actively recolonize. That is what's actually happening right now, right? They're actively trying to recolonize the whole region, and they're trying to control the trade routes. So it's basically a economic war between the East and the West. And that whole region of West Asia, Africa, everything is stuck in between.
Here we are. As you all saw yesterday, President
the ceasefire in order to reach a deal, and does he believe that a deal can be struck while the U.S. blockade is still in place?
Great questions, and I will answer them. Let's level set on where we are. As you all saw yesterday, President Trump announced an extension of the ceasefire. He's maintaining and generously offering a bit of flexibility to a regime who has been completely tarnished because of Operation Epic Fury. There's obviously a lot of internal division. This is a battle between the pragmatists and the hardliners in Iran right now, and the president wants a unified response. And so as we await that response, there's a ceasefire with the military and kinetic strikes, but Operation Economic Fury continues, and the effective and successful naval blockade continues as well of ships and vessels that are moving to and from Iranian ports. We are completely strangling their economy through this blockade. They're losing $500 million a day. The Karg Island is completely full. They can't move oil in and out. They can't even pay their own people as a result of this economic leverage that President Trump has inflicted over them. So he's satisfied with that as we await their response. And we will see. The president has not set a firm deadline to receive an Iranian proposal, unlike some of the reporting I've seen today.
Hi, Erica.
Ultimately, the timeline will be dictated by the commander-in-chief and the president of the United States. Well, we obviously know who we're negotiating with because our negotiating team has sat down with those individuals in person. But obviously, there's a lot of internal fraction and internal division, which again just proves the effectiveness of Operation Epic Fury in the first place. Their regime and many of its leaders for...
Hi, Erica, sis.
Nearly
Thank you
5
for the
decades
gifts.
have been wiped off.
By the way, I haven't said this because I literally just forgot how to promote the live because I haven't been live in about a month, I think. So please do like the live, share the live while we're watching. Also, if you want to support me, my peelings are in the link tree in my bio, by the way. Gifts are also much appreciated. And gifts are also much appreciated, but I appreciate y'all. So, yeah. Hi, Becca. Thank you.
For the face of planet Earth. So, again, the president's offering them a little bit of flexibility because...
Also, click that little heart me. Yeah, I had deactivated my account. I needed a break, but that little heart right next to my name, if y'all want to join my team, you guys can do that as well and click the little heart me. That would genuinely be awesome.
We want to see a unified proposal to the president's very strong proposal, and he's made his red lines very clear. Again, the United States maintains control over this situation, leverage over the Iranian regime. Not only have they been significantly weakened and obliterated militarily, but they are losing economically and financially every single moment that passes with this blockade. So the president is going to continue to lead the free world, to run the United States of America as we await the Iranian response. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. 2 questions. What's the ultimate goal of this blockade? Is it indefinite? And is the ceasefire that's in place right now also indefinite?
Look, again, I'm not going to set a timetable for the president. He has not done that, and I won't. I know there's been some anonymous sourced reporting that there was maybe a 3 to 5 day deadline. That is not true. The president has not set a deadline himself. Ultimately, he will dictate the timetable. And again, he is satisfied with the naval blockade, and he understands that Iran is in a position, and the cards are in President Trump's hands right now.
Sir, I've missed you guys so much. The tomatoes.
On the issue of Virginia redistricting, because he weighed in this afternoon, raising concerns about polls. Why didn't he campaign more actively against this referendum? Why not spend time on Truth Social encouraging people to vote no before the vote, then raise concerns after?
That's a question that's political by nature. As you know, I'm not part of the president's political team anymore. I do sit here at the White House as a government employee. Look, the president has a lot on his plate, a lot on his schedule. He did host a telephone call prior to the election the night before, but he's made his position on the results of this election clear to all of us. Mary Bruce.
The president is not setting a deadline with this ceasefire right now.
The potato. So sad. That was actually so funny.
Gone on longer than he said it would initially. How long should Americans be prepared for this war to go on?
Look, I think President Trump ultimately will dictate the timeline, and he will do so when he feels is in the best interest of the United States and the American people. Sure, go ahead.
Of course, I allow differing opinions, unless your opinions are based on questioning somebody's human rights. Hi, DF. If your opinions is based or rooted in questioning someone's human rights, then I don't really respect your opinion. But if it's just a differing opinion, of course I respect that.
So in the same day, the president said that he doesn't want to extend the ceasefire and the bombs would stop falling after the end of the ceasefire. Unilaterally, he declared that the ceasefire would be extended indefinitely. Iranian state media are openly mocking the President of the United States and saying we didn't even request the extension of the ceasefire. What's the response from the President of the United States?
The response is you guys all see a lot of different messaging coming out of Iran, a lot of different rhetoric and language from them. I would caution you to take anything that
Another topic. There's been some reporting about a possible bailout for Spirit Airlines. Can you update us on those talks? And why does the administration think it's a good investment to buy into a bankrupt airline?
Well, I understand the airline is bankrupt because the previous administration blocked the merger, which was probably not a wise move. Obviously, this is something the Commerce Department and the president are tracking. I don't have any updates or announcements, but the aviation industry is very important to this president and this White House. Millions of Americans depend on it. We want to see the best possible.
So, how long is the president willing to wait for the Iranians to come to the table? And does he trust the Iranians to come to the table?
Again, I've now been asked this question a few different times, a few different ways. I'm not going to set a deadline for that.
I'm such a cute hamster.
A lot of the negotiations or it seems public statements that we see from the president coming through social and the Iranians on X, a lot of back and forth there. Did the president's Truth Social posts throughout the day ahead of these negotiations have a negative impact on negotiations?
I think look at where we are right now. The president chose to extend the ceasefire together. The United States and President Trump have been very clear in our demands and our red lines and what we need to see in the best interest of the American people and our country. Short answer to your question is no.
I thought it was my internet, but it's not my internet. It's actually just it's the video.
Does the White House have an understanding at this point of who inside of Iran will have the final sign-off on it?
The White House and our intelligence community certainly has a good understanding. You want to see a unified to the previous different messaging on social media from
Associated Press. Get it together. Oh my lord.
People with that public nonsense is not what we hear from them privately. But again, what the president is awaiting. Again, I'll leave our intelligence community and the president to decide. Nick, go ahead.
Does the White House have a response to the DOJ's indictment of the SPLC, as well as the allegations that donated funds were used to actually fund the very dangerous racist groups that it denounced?
Yeah, I saw the indictment yesterday. I saw the acting attorney general and FBI director do a press conference on it. It was quite shocking to learn of the egregious violations of the law the Southern Poverty Law Center was committing. And I think that's a story in this country because they've obviously been duping their supporters and the American taxpayers for far too long. It's a criminal organization, clearly, and that's not our DOJ saying that or Todd Blanche saying that. That's a grand jury indictment saying that.
Okay, I actually want to watch this. Hold on. It's from a day ago. Hold on. The UAE itself, by the way.
Senator Van thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So this is a Treasury Secretary, by the way, Scott Bessent. He had to testify over Trump's dealings in the UAE. So that's what he's basically asking about. This is from today.
Secretary, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your recent conversations with folks in the government of the UAE. As I'm sure you probably know, President Trump and his family have done a very brisk business with the UAE over the last few years. There was the $500 million that Sheikh Tahnoon, the UAE's national security advisor and brother of the president, invested in World Liberty Financial, which is the Trump family crypto venture, right before the president's inauguration. There was the $2 billion in World Liberty's stablecoin that Sheikh Tahnoon used to invest in Binance, a deal that effectively handed World Liberty $2 billion in cash at the same time that the United States government relaxed our export controls on high-end AI and ships to UAE companies. And now I understand that the UAE is looking for a swap line. The war in Iran has already cost us dearly. In my view, it's been a huge mistake, made us less safe and a lot worse off. In addition to lives lost, we're talking about over $1 billion a day in taxpayer money. We're talking about...
Thank you guys for all the gifts, by the way. I appreciate y'all. As we're doing this, just like and share the live, y'all. Continue gifting. I appreciate you guys so much. Continue liking the live. If you like the education, then you can subscribe. Definitely, that could help me. You could like the live, share the live, follow me as well, because I'm back and I'm gonna go live more regularly with almost daily updates. And then also, my pay links are in the link tree in my bio if you want to continue supporting me.
Higher gas prices, higher prices overall. And now we understand that the UAE is asking you to provide them a swap line through the Exchange Stabilization Fund. Mr. Secretary, can you talk about this request and whether or not you expect to support it?
I missed you guys too.
Senator, I would dispute much of what you earlier said and any linkages to this swap line. Many of our Gulf allies have requested swap lines. You would have just read about the UAE, and swap lines, whether it's from the Federal Reserve or the Treasury, are to maintain order in the dollar funding markets and to prevent the sale of the U.S. assets.
Thank you, Chica.
In a disorderly way. So the swap line would both benefit the UAE the U.S. And as I said, numerous other countries, including some of our Asian allies, have also requested them.
Mr. Secretary, you said you disputed some of the facts that I presented. Do you dispute the fact that Sheikh Tanoon, through his company, invested $500 million in World Liberty Financial just before the president was inaugurated? No, you contest that.
I'm unaware of that.
You're not aware of that?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
I dispute your linkages.
Are you aware of the other transaction I mentioned? Essentially, the $2 billion. Seriously,
I'm not.
I mean, it's been so widely reported, Mr. Secretary, and been the subject of lots of questions. In fact, I believe I've asked you about this.
You want to know what my response to him is? Because he just said he was unaware of that.
Lies, lies, and more lies, and lies on top of lies.
Exactly. Lies. That is my response to him. How could he not know? And why are you lying, sir?
Now to our next guest. The United Arab Emirates has taken more direct attacks from Iran than any other country.
That is true, by the way. The UAE is the #1 country that has taken the most hits, even more than Israel. Beautiful, by the way. But I'm just saying, it has gotten more hits than even Israel.
Including Israel in the last 7 weeks of war. Joining us now is the UAE's Minister of State for International Cooperation, Reem Al-Hashimi. Thank you so much, Madam Secretary, for being here.
So she's a minister at the United Arab Emirates?
So I want to get to that point. You have been attacked by Iran more than any other country. And we put together the numbers here. This is from the...
Look at that. They have received 2,000 between February the 28th and April the 14th. The United Arab Emirates has been attacked 2,819 times, whereas Israel has received 1,357 attacks. Saudi Arabia has received 1,231 attacks. Kuwait has received 1,214 attacks. Qatar has received 730 attacks. Bahrain 717. Iraq 340. Jordan 287 attacks. But the UAE has received substantial amount of attacks, by the way.
The Gulf Research Center, and it shows, look at the numbers. I mean, you know them well. You have been attacked more than Israel, more than Saudi Arabia. Why has Iran aimed so much firepower at the UAE?
Thank you very much, John, for having me. Well, in 40 days, we were attacked a little over 2,800 with 2,800 missiles and drones. And for us, it's very clear that they've chosen to go down this path because we are everything that they're not.
Oh, bullshit. Oh my God, I can't. Okay, I have to stay professional. But that was such a cop-out. That was such a cop-out. I'm so sorry. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Let's hear that again.
So much firepower at the UAE.
Thank you very much, John, for having me. Well, in 40 days, we were attacked a little over 2,800 with 2,800 missiles and drones. And for us, it's very clear that they've chosen to go down this path because we are everything that they're not. We are a model of economic prosperity. We have 200 nationalities that live there. We have religions and cultures from all around the world. We used our oil wealth to build an economic powerhouse. They used their wealth for nuclear programs that are nefarious, for missiles, drones, proxies, etc. So, whereas we tried to...
There is something so jarring seeing a woman wearing like a headscarf. Saying this. I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? Like, It's like if you see like a black person reproducing anti-blackness, there's something so jarring because you don't understand it. Why are you reproducing? But ultimately, though, like that Islamophobia is not really going to harm the UAE, right? So what proxies does the US have? A lot of proxies, actually. Israel is a US proxy. I would say the UAE is also a Western proxy, not necessarily only American, but Western in general. Ethiopia would be another one. Like, America has a lot of proxies, too, within that region.
We are everything that they're not. We are a model of economic prosperity. We have 200 nationalities that live there. We have religions and cultures from all around the world. We used our oil wealth to build an economic powerhouse. They used their wealth for nuclear programs that are nefarious, for missiles, drones, proxies, etc. So whereas we tried to become and have become an international, global, responsible player, they are a pariah state. And they wanted to break that model, but they underestimated our resolve.
So how concerned are you that at the end of this process, even if there is a deal, that Iran will retain the power to continue once again to attack the UAE?
So we're very concerned because we believe that it's really important that as part of a neighborhood that one is in, that you have neighbors that don't just launch these types of weapons against fellow neighbors. I don't know if you're aware, John, but over 90% of all of their targets was actually civilian infrastructure.
So they weren't just going after the U.S. bases or U.S. facilities?
Not at all. And not even the U.S. bases where nothing was actually fired from the U.S.
Allergic to bullshit.
With a team in the IRGC that doesn't have such hostile intentions towards us.
So what do you make of the prospects for these talks in Islamabad? Do you think there's going to be a deal? Do you think it's...
Well, eventually there's going to have to be one, but it has to be a good deal, right? Because there's no point in kicking the can down the road when we're just going to end up where we started, maybe even with a more emboldened regime that wants to continue to hurt its neighborhood. So from our perspective, we do want to have peace in our region, but it can't be a bad peace. It can't be a peace where it doesn't address the root causes, which is Iran dealing with proxies like Hezbollah and Hamas and the Houthis, having a nefarious missile and drone program, a nuclear enrichment program, being able to weaponize the Straits. I mean, that I think is a really serious tool that the Iranians have taken forward, which is to hurt cities from Des Moines to Delhi in spiking up fuel prices, in spiking up food prices. They don't have the right to do that. And that's why what the president has put forward, which is to not allow them to take over the Straits, is going to be really important moving forward.
And you, I mean, they're your neighbors. You opposed this war in the beginning. You wanted a negotiated agreement in the beginning. Do you think that the Iranians, as the regime now stands, can be trusted to keep commitments even if they come to an agreement?
Look, trust is earned, right? And what we've seen so far has been a pure demonstration of a lot of hostility. So the onus is really on them to demonstrate that they are not going to be going forward in the way that the trajectory has been so far. But trust is earned, John, and we are not fools. We've seen them even before February 28th when this started, a couple of weeks before that. One of our senior ministers was in Tehran talking through...
Holy shit, the victim mentality, bro. The victim mentality. Oh my goodness. They're doing a G-side. How are they sitting here pretending as if they're the victims when they're literally aiding, abetting the largest humanitarian crisis out there right now?
How are we going to be able to deal with, as I said, the realities of geography? Right now, they're going to have to really step up in a significant way for us to be able to believe what they say again.
President Trump has said that there has been regime change in Iran.
No, there hasn't.
And obviously, the supreme leader was killed. A lot of the other leaders were killed. You don't think there's been regime change in Iran?
I know that personalities have changed, right? You have different characters that are currently in place. But how has that changed the character of the Revolutionary Guard? That's yet to see. Doesn't seem very hopeful though right now.
And let me ask you also about this threat that he's made to take out every bridge and every power plant if there isn't an agreement. Are you concerned about that?
We believe that maximum.
Oh, we're talking with a UAE. We're listening to a UAE minister. So that's who she is.
Pressure is what actually.
Her name is Reem Al Hashimi. She's the U.S. Minister of State for International Cooperation.
Takes you forward, dealing with the Revolutionary Guard, whether it's military, whether it's economic pressure, which is why that piece is going to be critical now that they've weaponized the straits, the tolling of vessels, the fact that they are able to have another amplified revenue source. Those are all things that need to be tackled. Ultimately, we don't want to hurt the Iranian people. That's very important to mention. But at the same time, it's the Revolutionary Guard that have taken forward a military stance and a posture, not against the US and Israel alone, but against the very neighborhood that they operate in through the Gulf states.
All right, Madam Minister, thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate your time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, John. Thank you so much.
To clarify again, she's acting all innocent, but under their leadership, a T militia has been able to take up half of Sudan. How are they acting like they're the victims? So, genuine question. Everything that's yellow, right here, and then right here at the bottom, is land that is owned and controlled currently by the RSF and its allies. The RSF doesn't have an air force. It's not like an actual military. It's a militia, but it's a militarized militia. And yet it is able to not only go against the Sudanese military, which is one of the largest militaries in Africa, but it's also able to control all of this land. And they're sitting here acting innocent. Gaslighting 101, exactly. Literally gaslighting 101. That's literally what it is. This is what the UAE is doing in Sudan.
Brutal fighting, thousands killed, millions left without homes. Famine is spreading in parts of.
By the way, this isn't only happening to Sudan. The UAE is urging Ethiopia to invade Eritrea because they've also, if you look at the map here, right? The border of Eritrea that is fortified is the western border, right? Right here, because that's bordered with Sudan. This is all Sudanese government controlled land. But if you go down here, this is Somaliland. Somaliland is about like 100 kilometers away from Eritrea. Not that far away. Djibouti is tiny, right? And then you have Ethiopia from here, which, by the way, Ethiopian ministers themselves said that the UAE is pressuring Abiy Ahmed, who is the current prime minister of Ethiopia, to invade Eritrea. And that is because they want access to the Red Sea. By the way, the UAE used to be in Eritrea, and then it was kicked out in like 2021. It got kicked out because the Eritrean government realized that they were a bit sus. And ever since then, it has heavily invested in Ethiopia because it wants to use Ethiopia to then invade Eritrea, basically. Right? So, this country is a plague. I'm actually not even joking. This country is a plague, the UAE. Hold on. Where is the video though?
The country, factions accused of war crimes. Sudan's civil war enters its first.
Oh my god, it's not a civil war. It's an invasion and a genocide.
Here, with little hope on the horizon.
Right now, we're entering, frankly, the most dangerous year of the war to date, because we don't have any meaningful peace process occurring. We have no UN Security Council action to effectively stop the arming of both sides. And now the conflict is being defined by the use of unmanned aerial vehicles by both sides, which are attacking civilians and civilian infrastructure.
And civilians have continued to pay the heaviest.
I hate this both sides argument. It's not both sides. One side is doing the genocide. One side is the one that's eating people's livers.
Prices. The UN says nearly 70% of Sudan's population are now living under poverty on less than $4 a day. Before the war, that figure was less than 40%. 14 million Sudanese people are forced to flee their homes. In this refugee settlement in Tawila in North Darfur state, hundreds of thousands...
By the way, remember the city that I showed you guys before El Fasher? A lot of the people who fled El Fasher came to this area, Tawila, which is in the middle of the desert. You don't even get much help here. And if you want to actively help people in Tawila, by the way, the initiative is in the link tree in my bio, Darfur IDP. Darfur IDP has actively helped thousands of people in Tawila itself by bringing them food and essentials. So if you go to the link tree in my bio, you will see Darfur IDP, and it actively helps all Sudanese people wherever they are in need. It doesn't only support people in Darfur, but for now it is focusing also on Tawila. So if you want to support them, you can do that. And if you cannot donate, even if it's $5, then you can share the initiative, or you can just add it to your link tree as well. Whatever initiative that you want. I have initiatives that support people, Eritrean refugees, that support Haitians, that support South Sudanese, that support Sudanese, and that support Congolese people, right? And if you want to support any one of those initiatives, you can also copy and link that to your bio, by the way.
Survive with 1 meal a day. Many of them left El Fasher, the state's capital, when it was captured by one of the
El Fasher,
the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF.
كنا في الفاشر يعني وظروف كانت لنا كآبة يعني وغروبات مع الناس وأي حاجة وعشان نطلب ما عندنا أي حاجة لغاية باسبورت أكلنا يعني وشيء عشان نطلبه كده ما عندنا وخايت هنا بدك يعني عملنا كده طلعنا بقرآننا هنا برضو جينا بقرآننا وأي حاجة تيجينا هدرنا وصل في التويل يعني تيجي لنا ناس كتير أخو عزيز فقدت أخوان وأخوات يعني وفقدت أحباب كل الناس كانت أخوي كله مصعب برضو يعني مات بحادث بتدان طلع مشي السوق بس في الفاشر هناك مشي السوق لأن قاعد معنا بتوارنا السم وهي حاجة طلعت زي بس جابوا لنا جسد.
Oh my god.
كما دلال برضه ما مشكلة لكن يعني على الحسب يعني دانا القصة دي يعني ممكن ذاته ما شفت حاجة زي ده.
Despite facing one of the world's worst humanitarian crises, Sudan gets little global attention.
It's not that they don't care, it's that they're actively ignoring it. Because there is no political constituency for Sudanese lives in the West. There's no one in the streets like there was during the first Darfur genocide. There are no bracelets, there are no celebrities, there are no students chanting in New York or London for there to be intervention. And so nobody cares in the West.
And the fear is now Sudan might split into two.
The state has not only collapsed, but now the country is looking at a de facto partition in which the army controls most of the center of the country and the capital and most of the east, but the RSF forces control most of Western Sudan and parts of Central Sudan as well. And if you just look at a map, you'll see that that has pretty much split Sudan in two. So, history and other conflicts with a similar de facto partition right now in other parts of the world tell us that it's very hard to reverse such a de facto partition once it's solidified.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the government is not wanting to split, by the way. This idea that there is attempts to split is just RSF propaganda. The RSF is actively trying to split. And that's why they created even a parallel government. They're trying to take over Darfur, like Western Sudan. But this isn't something that the Sudanese government wants, which is precisely why it is refusing to negotiate, by the way. It is refusing to negotiate because it doesn't want to negotiate a split, even if it comes to splitting control.
Is on the ground. So the longer this war goes on, it'll get harder and harder to try to unite Sudan back together again.
Drones are changing the nature of combat.
We talk a lot about the use of drones in Ukraine, but the use of drones in Sudan, particularly in the past year to 18 months, has been not only a new development in the Sudan war, but a new development in global warfare. Because we now see with Al-Fashir what it would have looked like during the Rwanda genocide if the Hutus had drones.
Sudan has once been dubbed as the epicenter of human suffering by the UN. Humanitarians working in the country have to grapple with dwindling resources and growing needs.
Mass atrocities, sexual violence, hallmarks of genocide. Any one of those words on their own should be enough to get your attention. But all of them together, everyone should be standing up and doing their utmost, no matter what else is going on in the world. Sudanese life matters just as much as the life of any other person in any other crisis context across the world.
100%. 100%. U.S. Secretary of the Navy John C. Phelan has stepped down. Oh. It's breaking news, by the way. Undersecretary Hung Cao will become acting Secretary of the Navy. It's breaking news, by the way. But, yeah. I think it's, abysmal, in my opinion. So, anyways, I have hit 2.5 hours. I did want to show you guys this before I left. Because this is the segment where I show Eritrean music, but I really, really wanted to show you guys this song. It's actually not even a song, it's a masterpiece, it's an artwork. It's a Sudanese art project, basically. And I really wanted to show you guys it. I'm going to show you guys this, and I'm going to play an Eritrean song, and then I will possibly end the live. But before I do that, I really, really want to show you guys this. So I'm going to turn my phone to the side. And what you guys can do as well is turn your phones to the side. And the reason why I want to do this is because I want you guys to even read the lyrics, because there is an English lyrics for people who don't understand Arabic. So that is what I'm going to be doing. Ta-da! Okay, there we go. So just turn to the side. You guys can also turn your phones to the side, and you can watch this masterpiece that is this song. Oh, also, can somebody... Okay, here it is. If you guys want, you can also clear display, by the way. Then the comments are gonna not be there. So this song was a song that was initially written by Hassan Bara, who wrote the song called Thoughts of an Elephant. And it's supposed to be not only kind of like not only kind of like a song or like dedicated to the elephants that were fleeing because of the war, but also it's a metaphor for the people. So you guys can clear display, by the way. Hopefully it works, but here it is. Interesting that he's wearing an American cowboy hat, the one who's keeping them captive.
خدوني في قفص كبير جابوني مسجون ليه أنا ليه
أنا ما عملت هناك شيء بأستحق هذا العناء ما عرفت قط في دنيتي غير اللعب والشيطان قبضوني جابوني حرموني طاب الهدى قبضوني جابوني حرموني طاب العزيز عينك تكوس ما عارفة أبدا وين مشيت أمي العزيز عينك تكوس ما عارفة أبدا وين مشيت قايلاني حالك بالشجر زرعتي كل ما اختفيت يا ناس ذوق ما قدرت أذوق حد ما يريد Mama, I lost my ways and stuff, but I won't give up, no way. No cage, no chain, no guns, no pain. I will beg for my will to be strong. Yes, I'm a captive. Tell me what I've done to you. Is it 'cause I'm a part of the family? And love cannot be rooted.
سلام عليكم شايفي قلبي من جوا خاطري شوقي ليكم تعود تاني تعود أماني ما صدقني في دمي جاري داير أغني من الفرح لغنايا بيبقى حزن وصلنا يوم بس متنا ترجع نتلاقى في نفس الحضن قبضوني جابوني الحبس حرموني خيرات وافية قبضوني جابوني الحبس حرموني خيرات وافية يا يما وين نلقى الشجر ونلقى قلبي يا هجاجة يا يما وين نلقى الشجر نلقى قلبي يا هجاجة
Oh Lord. I cried so much listening to this yesterday, by the way. So much. Yeah. Name of the song, you can screenshot it right here. خواطر فيل just means thoughts of an elephant. Exactly. I'd highly recommend you guys to watch it on your own, on your screen. Of course, it's going to feel a bit different when you do that. But yeah, watch it on a screen. Share it around. It's very, exactly, has so many hidden messages. I think that's what I would recommend people to look at, the hidden messages, I guess. I'm crying, thank you, I'm sorry. This seems very, like, how dare you make me cry kind of thing, but yeah. And now we're gonna go to the Eritrean music. I will show y'all a song by some revolutionary music by Ababa Haile, who was herself was a rebel fighter, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. She was an Eritrean rebel. Yeah, we had a lot of rebel fighters, by the way. So yeah. And they used to sing music during the rebel fighting group, like during the Liberation War. Did y'all know that 30 to 40% of the Liberation Army were women? Imagine, about 1 in 3, almost 1 in 3 were women in the Eritrean Liberation War. low blood pressure and anemia. A lot of us do. I do. That's why I have cold hands. But don't try an Eritrean woman. Just wanted to say that. Do not try an Eritrean woman. The Liberation Army, the Anti-Colonial Liberation Army with the most women participation in the world was Eritrea. In my opinion, this is feminism. I'm trying to tell you that. This is an example of true feminism. Don't let anyone convince you that women cannot fight. They literally fought for their liberation. Okay, I want to show y'all more of a happy song. Where is it? Exactly, true like this, actually like feminism, you know? Not girl boss, gaslight, girl boss, gatekeep, let me go and create a brand that uses sweatshops in Southeast Asia, and that is going to be peak feminism. That's not feminism, by the way. This is true feminism. I'm going to show y'all a song. Women fighting to liberate themselves on the battlefield. That is feminism. This one. Lovers and liberators, exactly. Music videos are always so colorful. This is Eritrean music, Carver. Carver, I don't like listening to this. I love listening to this. Hey, 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 hey. Hey. Oh, wait, they look like twins. I think they might be brothers, actually. They might be twins, because they look very similar. They have to be related. Hey, hey. Okay. Yeah, I think they might be twins. Even their hairs are like, hey, I say, hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 uh-huh. Now imagine this played in a hall. Like at a wedding. It's like packed. It's playing in a hall. And you just have to like, you know. You, listen. When you are at an Eritrean wedding, okay? I'm just telling you, you sweat like a hoe at church, okay? But it's fun, because you don't even notice it, right? But you just don't want to stop dancing. It looks easy, but it's not easy. Hey, 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 I say. Oh. Okay. Oh yes, they do have discos, Drea. Hey. Of course, you can never end it without this song. Hey. Where is Michael when you need him? Bryce, my funny dancing would not be appropriate. What are you talking about? Everyone is encouraged to dance. Because dancing means you are alive, okay? I encourage everyone to try dancing to this, genuinely. Dancing means you are alive. And why not dance while we're alive? Hey. Exactly, Bryce. Bryce, I don't think just simply dancing to this is not, I don't necessarily think it's imposing on tradition. I think maybe wearing the outfits and all that stuff might be a bit bastardization, but like just simply dancing is not like, you can, I think that's cultural appreciation. Like just turning it on and dancing to it, definitely, I would love that. You dance to an Eritrean song? Matter of fact, post yourself dancing to an Eritrean song and then tag me. Okay, I will repost that shit. Wearing the clothes, all that stuff, that might come a bit appropriation territory. I don't know about that. But dancing to it, enjoying the culture, eating the food, go to an Eritrean restaurant. Enjoy the food, post that shit and tag me. Put on a song, dance to a nice Eritrean song, and tag me. As long as you don't say Habesha. I don't like the term Habesha. If you're doing anything Eritrean, say specifically Eritrea. Give it that name. The only issue that it could be triggering for me and for a lot of Eritreans is if you mix it together with Ethiopian, if you call it Ethiopian, if you use Ethiopian names for Eritrean things that you're doing, that could be a bit no. But if you're just wanting to appreciate Eritrean culture, definitely. As long as you say it's Eritrean culture though. Don't just steal that shit. Exactly, no Habesha. I don't like the term Habesha. I actually despise the term Habesha. I personally think it leads to a lot of erasure. So if you're doing Eritrean things, then say this is Eritrean music, this is Eritrean food, this is an Eritrean dance. Don't mix Eritrea and Ethiopia together. You know, like Eritrea is a standalone country, doesn't always have to coexist with Ethiopia or a neighboring country. That's the only thing I would highly implore you guys not to do. But other than that, yeah, do it. Oh, I love the video, Bryce. I actually sent the video to like an Eritrean group chat that I was in. I mean it. Exactly, Drea. Ooh, somebody said, hold on. Okay, I'll show y'all. Somebody said they wanted the one with the girl dance with the thing on her forehead. Hold on, where is it? Where is that song? This one. They wanted the one with the forehead dance girl. I forgot her name, but you know, this girl has been doing it since she was a kid. Now this is for Easter, a collaboration with like a Tigrayan singer. So that guy, this guy right here is Tigrayan. But yeah, but this singer right here, Sami Ed Isao, is Eritrean. Oh, I say. Oof. Ooh, the strings. What he's saying, the daughter of my beloved country, who else is like her? That's what he's saying. So he's basically talking about a woman that he loves, and both of them are, that's the lyrics. And they're saying basically the woman that he loves is the daughter of his beloved country. Therefore, there's nobody like her. You know? So it's praising the women of his country, basically. Hey, 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 hey. Oh, there she comes. I say. I would fall flat on my face if I had to do this. Dancing with a bottle on her head? Hey, I say. A full bottle. By the way, if you notice, do you notice the top? The bottle doesn't have a cap, which means if she drops it, everything pours. That's her showing her, exactly, it's an open bottle. She's showing her talent, that even with an open bottle, she can dance. No, literally, Lisa. Aw, we love our cousins tonight. Hello. Oh, almost fell. He's basically saying these people of foreign lands, don't let them make us fight. That's what he's saying. These people of foreign lands, don't let them make us fight. So like basically don't let them come in between us. Hi Noah. Hey. Wait, Linda said she just tried it. I just tried it with a closed bottle on my head and it fell after -2 seconds. Hey. Hey. Essay. I'm so sorry. The men are so fine. Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to, but especially this one right here. Hallelujah. Essay. Girl. Destiny. Hey. Chico. Hey. Oh my goodness. Okay. Knock them on the floor. Hey. Essay. Oh. They're just having fun. The kabalokalo. God damn. Does she not get nervous? I don't know actually. Just showing it up. Bisha, Habibi. Hey. Do you know there's a saying that my mother told me about it, right? So apparently there is a saying in Amharic that says, I don't speak Amharic, I understand it, but I don't speak it, that says, if God wants a party, he feeds Eritreans. Basically, back in the day, there was like a whole pipeline. So when Ethiopia had like occupied and colonized Eritrea, there was like a whole like a highway basically between Asab and Addis Ababa and all that stuff. So there were a lot of truckers going back and forth between that, right? Eritrean truckers, right? And so when they used to go to Addis Ababa, in order to have fun, they literally used to party the whole time. Like the partying, the dancing halls in Addis Ababa used to be full with them, right? So there was a saying that they used to say there, if God wants a party, he feeds Eritreans. So like once they're full and they're fed, they can start dancing. And like the rebel fighters, imagine the rebel fighters used to be out in the fields in the middle of nowhere fighting Ethiopian soldiers all day, all night. And then at night, they go back to their station and they used to dance. Literally, they used to dance all night, right? So they used to dance all the time while they were in the middle of nowhere. That is how obsessed like Eritreans are with dancing, right? So Nagadli? حرك ده يا خالي. Hey, essay. What's the song? Yebilnan Guana. You can screenshot it here. Yebilnan Guana. Which means we don't have a foreigner. Essay. Okay, somebody asked for, let me see if I can find it. So this is a song from the revolution, right? But I want like a dance, like an actual dance. Hold on. Let me see if I can find anything. Airton Rebels. Let's see if you can find anything. I'll have to look for that and I'll bring it to you tomorrow. Doesn't seem like there's any videos here. Okay, this is newer. This is the Eritrean military. Oh. But this is new. Oh, here we go. Here they are. This is during the Liberation War, by the way. Hi, Rahwa. Salam. Hey. Again, these are guerrilla fighters, not a military, no air force, right? They're just average people who picked up a gun and were like, let me fight for my country. And they are fighting the Ethiopian military, Soviet pilots, Israeli pilots, Ethiopian pilots. They are fighting South Yemeni soldiers, 19,000 Cuban mercenaries, and an Ethiopian military, like an army that has over 100,000 soldiers. And they still found the time to dance. What excuse do you have not to dance? Right? And these are like the women fighters, the female fighters who are dancing. But all of them used to dance generally. I say. Hi, Mr. Falcon. Hey. This used to de-stress them, basically. I'm sorry. Look at them. They're doing a campfire at night and dancing. Thank you, controller. Hey. Oh, did you hear them, by the way? Did y'all watch the video of Sabrina Carpenter saying that is weird? Yodeling is weird. Ululating is weird. And did you see what they just did? It's called ililta. It's called ililta, right? Within like our culture. Thank you, controller Howie. Yes, Sabrina Carpenter said that like yodeling or utilation was weird because somebody did it at her concert and then she stopped playing halfway. She was like, what was that? And then somebody told her that was yodeling and she was like, that was weird. Oh, somebody told her that there was a part of their culture, sorry, and she said it was weird. And she continued playing. Hey, I say, I don't know a single African culture that doesn't have that. Exactly, Daria. Daria, you're African, of course. Of course you're gonna have that in your history, like in your lineage. You're African. Well, diasporan African. She probably thought it was men who said, probably. Essay. Okay. Should we do one more song? There is a song that was recently released, and I haven't watched it yet, but it was on my list. That means we're going to be reacting to it together. Sabrina Carpenter used to go out with The Weeknd? Really? Okay, so we're going to do a reaction together, okay? That's what we're going to do. So this song was released 6 days ago, and I kept it on my favorited list, and I wanted to watch it. So we're going to watch it together, y'all. We're reacting to it together. Okay. So I said, no, it's not Selena Gomez. I meant Sabrina Carpenter. Hold on, let me show you the clip. Sabrina Carpenter. Here.
I think I heard some.
See, she heard that? Somebody did it.
I think I heard someone yodel. Is that what you're doing? I don't like it.
Sabrina Carpenter apologizing after confusing a Coachella fan's Arabic chant for yodeling and saying
Arabic chant is crazy. That's not an Arabic chant. That's just like, it is like ululation. But yeah, she said that's weird. But anyways. Oh, Fosilibe. Okay, he's saying shukorina. Shukorina, by the way, means like sugar, sweetie. Okay, that's what it means. And he's saying like, oh my sweetie, my sugar, you're the the medicine of my heart, basically, like the medicine of my heart. Oh, he's like, wear your makeup, you know? Wear your makeup, let's go out in town. That's what he's telling her. Yes, you did, Jimmy. Oh. Am I the only one who's smiling from ear to ear? It's so cute. Oh, Jimmy. Oh my god. Hi, Mo. Hi, Mo. كمل لك. صبت. And Hando. Drea. No, I don't know how to braid like that. My mother knows how to braid like that, but the problem is, get him, Imo. My mother knows how to braid like that, but the problem is when you get your hair braided like that, you can literally not sleep. Your whole head feels like it's about to explode. So, can I dance? Yeah, I can. Hey. But I can do normal braids, like box braids, and I can do twists and stuff, but not like this braiding. This is hard. Hey. Of course, أنا رعاك لها كمك تسألك. a short song. It was cute. Anyways, I love y'all so much. I have to end my live now. I've been live for... Hold on, let me check. 3 hours. Oh my goodness. Get ready for summer. I'm 100%. By the way, remember the thing that I told you guys to donate? IMO in the chat. First of all, WIMO, by the way, because he helped organize it. Remember when I told you guys when I was going around asking people to donate to that initiative to feed Eritrean refugees in Sudan and Egypt? So IMO was one of the people who organized that, by the way. I watched his live one day, and he had it on the background. He was trying to promote it. And that's when I found out about it, because he was one of the organizers, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So just wanted to say WWIMO for even getting that to work and getting the food to the Eritrean refugees who are on the ground in Sudan. So if you guys donated to the initiative, just know that the money, I think I showed you guys, right? Hold on, let me show it to you guys. I showed it on Smitty's live last time, but I can show it to you guys now. So if you donated to the initiative, this is where it went to. See that? Some Eritrean refugees in Sudan. There we go. This is where your money went to everyone who donated during that initiative, by the way. Just wanted to say, you guys did amazing. It went to feeding people. Look at that. It got really good food. It got meats, got bread, it got fruits, you know. Some substantial meals. So thank you to IMO. It was IMO and Afrah. So both of them were the ones who organized it. So that's where I was asking you guys to donate the money. So now you guys know, if you donated it, that's where it went to. You did good. So yeah. Tomorrow. Thank you, Shabia. Have a good evening, everyone.
And who wants a liar? Why?